As an example, let's create a plugin that is triggered every time a product is loaded by ID. This would make a good customization entry point if we ever need to enrich products with additional data, for example. To create a plugin, we have to do two things. We first have to create the plugin class, and we also have to configure it in di.xml. Because I like to avoid typing classes manually in XML because of possible typos, I usually create the PHP class first and then copy the name into the XML. But before we create the plugin class, let's take a moment to talk about naming plugin classes. It's tempting to name them after the plugin target and append a plugin suffix, but that isn't really helpful later when revisiting the code again after some time or looking through a list of all the plugins for a given target. I have found it much more useful to name plugin classes after what they do rather than after the target class. For example, add technical details to product plugin instead of product repository plugin. Or maybe order sync plugin instead of order management interface plugin. For our example, however, the plugin won't really do anything. It's just an educational example. Because of that, I'll just call it product repository example plugin. It's the best I can come up with right now. It's a loose convention that plugin classes are located in a plugin folder within modules. Now I'll go ahead and create the product repository example plugin. Now let's go ahead and create the di.xml and configure the plugin. But for that, I'll copy a reference. Okay. Now we need to configure the plugin target, the plugin name, and the plugin class. The plugin target type is the product repository interface. The plugin name has to be unique within the scope of the plugin target. It can be used to refer to an existing plugin configuration through XML merging. I tend to use the fully qualified module name in lowercase because that's unique anyway, and sometimes during debugging it makes it clear where a given plugin is defined. The plugin type is the name of the class that will contain our code. Configuring a plugin doesn't involve any method names yet. The configuration is only about the classes. It's possible to specify a sort order. But for now, just know that by default, the sort order should be omitted on plugins. Plugin execution order will be discussed in detail in another video. Plugins also can be deactivated by setting the disabled attribute to true. This is useful if we want to disable a plugin from another module. In that case, we can set disabled to true for that other plugin through XML merging. However, because the disabled attribute defaults to false, it is omitted in most cases. So that's all for the plugin configuration. The method names in our plugin class depend on the methods we want to hook into. We have to choose a public method in the target class, and then we prefix those with before, around, or after, depending on when we want our method to be called in relation to the target method. Each type of plugin method has its own specific signature and purpose. Let's go over them in the next videos.